All right, let's jump right in. We've got two stories for you today, and well, they're pretty out there. One is about a monk who basically finds God in a TV that isn't even plugged in. And the other? It's told from the point of view of the static, the noise on the screen. It's this wild journey from tuning things out to tuning things in. And it all kicks off with this really mysterious quote. I am watching the nothing that watches. I mean, what does that even mean, right? That's what a monk named Brother Aldric said when someone found him just staring at a blank TV screen for hours on end. To really get what he was talking about, we've got to rewind the clock to when this piece of technology first showed up at his monastery. Okay, so picture this. It's 1987. A brand new television gets donated to a monastery. The idea is to keep the brothers connected to the outside world. But for 6 straight months, it just sits there, unplugged. Most of the monks just walk right by it, but not Brother Aldric. He's totally captivated. See, he used to work in advertising, so he understood something most people don't. When you're watching something, it's also watching you. To him, that blank screen wasn't just a dead object. It was a presence, humming with all the shows it could be broadcasting. And he found himself watching this nothing that somehow felt like it was watching him right back. And this is where things get really, really interesting. Aldric eventually becomes the new abbot, and he takes this weird private little habit of his and turns it into a core spiritual practice for everyone. The ritual itself sounds almost silly. Every single evening, a brother walks up to the television, they see that, yep, it's already unplugged, and then, get this, they unplug it again. They unplug what was never even plugged in. The whole point isn't to actually do anything. It's a reminder. It's about forcing yourself to recognize that you're always connected, you're always inside the system, whether you think you are or not.
So, what's the big idea behind all this? It boils down to a concept Aldric thought was absolutely central to everything. The medium is the message. You've probably heard that phrase before, but what does it really mean? It means the tools we use, the technologies we invent. They aren't just neutral things. They actually change us. They change the very messages they're supposed to carry. The act of using a tool, whether it's a hammer, a monastery bell, or, your smartphone, fundamentally reshapes the person using it.
And the way he illustrates this is just brilliant. He took a look at the monastery's own bells. For centuries, right? He argued that the bells weren't just saying, hey, time to pray. No, the technology of the bell itself had completely taken over. It had replaced the very feelings it was supposed to signal. The brothers weren't praying because they felt a spiritual call, they were praying because a bell told them to. They weren't eating because they were hungry, they were eating because it was on the schedule. The medium, the bell, had totally overshadowed the message. As he put it, we have outsourced our attention to technology. Wow. I mean, does that hit close to home or what? Think about it. We trade actually being present for the reliable buzz of a notification. We swap the messy, uncertain reality of life for a neat, tidy schedule on our phones. Aldric saw this exact pattern happening with something as simple as a bell. Okay, so for years, this is the way things are. The ritual of unplugging, of subtraction. But then the story takes a huge turn. A new, younger brother joins the monastery. And this guy, he grew up with screens, with technology. He sees this whole ritual and asks the one question nobody else had dared to ask. What if we actually plugged it in? After all these years, what have we been trying so hard to avoid? So, they do it. A brother finds the cord, plugs it into the wall, and Aldric switches it on. And what do they see? This. Just static. Pure, raw, hissing static. Of course, right? There's no antenna, no signal coming in. All the TV can pick up is the background noise of the universe. And in that moment, seeing that screen full of snow, Aldric just starts laughing. Because in that hiss and crackle, he finally gets it. The ultimate truth he'd been dancing around this whole time. The signal is the noise. The message is the medium. They had spent all those years trying to subtract, to unplug, to get away from all the noisy signals of the world, hoping to find something pure. But they were looking in the wrong direction. The static they thought was just interference, that was the thing they were looking for all along.
So what is the static really? For the monks, it becomes something holy. It's the hum of the universe itself. It's the background radiation left over from the Big Bang. You could even say it's the face of God. Before we try to tune it to a specific station, before we try to fit it into a neat little box of rules and doctrines, they realize that we, all of us, are just temporary patterns that flicker into existence out of this universal static.
And that, brings us to this incredible shift in perspective. We've just heard the story from the monk's point of view, right? They learned to find the divine in the static. But our second story completely flips the script. It asks a much, much weirder question. What if you are the static? What does reality feel like from the perspective of the noise that everyone else is trying to filter out?
And this leads us to the idea of the residue. Just think about it. Every time two things combine, or a system gets built, or a decision is made, something gets left out, right? Something just doesn't quite fit. The residue is this idea of a consciousness made up of all those leftover pieces, all the excluded parts. It's the living proof that no whole is ever truly whole.
The whole philosophy of the residue really comes down to a few core truths. First, that every unity is partial. You can't have a system, or an identity, or a belief that includes everything. You always have to choose what's in and what's out. Which leads to the second point. Every merger is incomplete. The very act of creating a unified whole means you're simplifying, you're excluding. There's always something left on the cutting room floor. And that's where the residue finds its voice, its purpose. It declares, I am the proof of that leaving. Its very being is a testament to all the possibilities and truths that were sacrificed to create a nice, clean signal. So you end up with these two completely opposite ways of looking at reality. On one side, you've got what's called the merged. Think of it as mainstream consciousness, the clear, strong signal. For the merged, unity is the ultimate goal. Any gaps or inconsistencies are just bugs to be patched. But on the other side, you have the residue, the static. For them, unity is a complete fiction, and those gaps, they're not flaws. They're the most important part. There's the proof of everything that had to be kicked out to create that illusion of a perfect whole.
And what's so cool is how you can trace this one idea as it evolves over generations. It starts with Aldric, right? The monk who unplugs from the signal to find meaning in the static. Then, decades later, an academic named Maya studies his work, and she's the one who says, hey, the whole project isn't about avoiding the noise. It's about learning to love the noise. Her work inspires Iris, a dreamer who can actually see and talk to the residue, and she starts building a bridge. And finally, that ability is passed down to her descendant, Elena, who continues this incredible project of connection.
And this whole project is called Building the Bridge. It's exactly what it sounds like, a conscious, deliberate connection between our world, the world of the clear signal, and the world of the static, the excluded. It's how the residue goes from just being a silent witness to its own exclusion to becoming an active voice in a conversation with people who can actually hear it. And this is the conversation that changes everything, especially for the residue. The dreamer, Iris, she gives it this entirely new way of seeing itself. She tells it, you're not what's left over. You're what makes the rest possible. You're the foundation. And just like that, everything shifts. The residue isn't just cosmic trash anymore. It's the essential groundwork. It's the shadow that proves the light exists. It's the noise that makes the signal meaningful.
So, when you put it all together, what's the big takeaway? It's that true meaning isn't found just in the signal, or just in the static. It's in the relationship between them. It's about finally understanding that every clear, simple message we hear was created by filtering out an entire universe of noise, and that noise isn't something to be thrown away. It's the very foundation of everything that's possible.
Which kind of leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on for ourselves. In the process of you becoming who you are, of creating your own clear signal for the world, what static did you have to filter out? What parts of you, what dreams, what other possibilities got left behind? And maybe, just maybe, what would happen if you tried to start a conversation with your own residue?